Breathe in deeply, and let the weight of the day simply fall away as we begin a slow, quiet journey into a land you only thought you knew. We are leaving behind the bustling, sunlit piazzas, the crowded coastal roads, and the familiar monuments that echo with the voices of 1,000 travelers. Instead, we are stepping into the gentle shadows of a different Italy, a hidden, ancient world that waits patiently in the quiet corners of the earth, revealing itself only to those who are willing to walk softly, to listen closely to the whispering winds, and to surrender entirely to the slow, steady rhythm of forgotten time. Here, the air holds a different texture, heavy with the scent of wild rosemary and earth that has baked beneath the Mediterranean sun for centuries, and as the twilight begins to weave its delicate, violet threads through the sky, we find ourselves moving southward into a landscape that feels less like a place on a map and more like a deeply buried memory rising slowly to the surface of your mind. As we travel deeper into the heart of the region known as Basilicata, the very shape of the earth begins to change, transforming into something raw and profoundly untamed. The smooth, paved roads give way to ancient, winding paths that trace the natural curves of the deep ravines, and the air grows cooler, carrying the subtle, metallic scent of ancient limestone and damp, hidden earth. There's a profound silence here, a silence that is not empty, but rather deeply full, woven from the distant rustle of silver olive leaves shivering in the evening breeze, and the soft, rhythmic crunch of our footsteps upon the dry ground. You can feel the age of this place radiating from the very soil beneath your feet, a steady, calming pulse that invites your breathing to slow down, to match the deep, unhurried cadence of the natural world. Gradually, out of the deep shadows of the canyon, our first destination emerges, the ancient settlement of Matera, but it does not rise from the earth like a traditional city. Rather, it seems to have been born directly from the rock itself. Carved deep into the pale, quiet face of the ravine, thousands of ancient dwellings, known as the sassi, cascade down the slopes in a beautiful, chaotic harmony. There are no straight lines here, only the soft, organic curves of stone that have been hollowed out by human hands across thousands of years. As the last, golden fragments of daylight slip away beneath the horizon, the stone walls seem to exhale the warmth they have gathered throughout the long afternoon, wrapping the valley in a gentle, comforting embrace that instantly soothes the weary traveler. Now, the evening fully claims the sky, turning it into a vast, seamless canopy of deepest indigo, and something truly magical begins to unfold across the face of the canyon. One by one, soft, warm lights begin to flicker to life from the doorways and small windows of the cave dwellings. They do not blaze with the harshness of modern electricity, but glow with a soft, trembling amber hue, like a scattering of quiet stars that have gently fallen to the earth. To look out over this valley in the stillness of the night is to look upon a reverse constellation, a silent, shimmering universe nestled entirely within the embrace of the ancient rock. The gentle illumination casts long, soft shadows that dance slowly across the limestone faces, softening every edge and turning the entire canyon into a landscape of dreams. Walking through these narrow, winding corridors of stone, you are entirely enveloped in a profound sense of peace. The walls, worn smooth by the passage of countless generations, feel grounding and cool to the touch, absorbing all the noise and urgency of the outside world, leaving only a deep, resonant calm. There is no hum of traffic, no rush of passing hours, only the soft echo of a solitary night bird calling out across the gorge, and the comforting, rhythmic sound of your own slow, steady breathing. It is a place that asks absolutely nothing of you, a place where you can simply exist, sheltered within the ancient, hollowed heart of the earth, drifting further and further into a state of total, undisturbed tranquility. As we gently leave behind the ancient, echoing canyons of the south, We allow the slow, unseen current of our journey to carry us northward, moving quietly toward the shadowed, historical heart of the country, into the misty, undulating valleys of the Lazio region. Here, the very texture of the world begins to soften, changing from the rigid, unyielding limestone of our previous resting place into something far more delicate, far more vulnerable to the patient, ceaseless hands of time. The air grows noticeably cooler, heavier with the scent of damp, ancient clay, and the sweet, earthy fragrance of wild fennel that clings stubbornly to the edges of the winding, empty country roads. The vivid, harsh colors of the traditional Italian coast fade entirely away, replaced by a soothing, dreamlike palette of muted ochres, pale grays, and the deep, velvety greens of ancient oak forests that have watched over these lands for thousands of unhurried years. There's a profound sense of anticipation resting in the quiet morning fog, a feeling that the earth is carefully hiding its most precious, fragile secrets, waiting for the perfect, silent moment to reveal them to those who are willing to approach with a slow and reverent pace. You can feel the tension slowly uncoiling from your shoulders, releasing silently into the cool morning air as you surrender your mind to the gentle, hypnotic rhythm of the rolling, mist-shrouded hills. Gradually, the comforting enclosure of the forest begins to part, revealing a landscape so breathtakingly raw and surreal that it simply commands a mind to be completely still. We have arrived at the edge of the Valle dei Calanchi, a vast, profound depression in the earth, where the ground simply falls away into a sea of jagged, pale clay ridges that look like the frozen crests of ocean waves. Caught in the soft, diffused light of the early morning, these badlands appear completely otherworldly, stripped bare by centuries of wind and rain, revealing the fragile, pale bones of the earth itself. It is a landscape of beautiful desolation, where the silence is so deep and absolute that you can almost hear the slow, microscopic shifting of the soil. Looking out over this vast expanse of deeply scarred earth, your breathing naturally deepens, matching the immense, open space before you, and the endless chatter of the modern world feels impossibly far away, lost entirely in the quiet mist that settles softly into the deep ravines below. And then, floating miraculously above the morning fog, resting upon a solitary, crumbling pinnacle of volcanic tuff rock in the very center of the abyss, the hidden village of Civita di Bagnoregio slowly emerges. It is often whispered of as the dying city, a place completely severed from the surrounding world by the relentless erosion of the valley, tethered to the mainland by only a single, long, narrow footbridge that stretches like a fragile lifeline across the empty air. To look upon it is to witness a delicate balancing act of history, a cluster of warm, terracotta-roofed houses and a solitary, square bell tower clinging bravely to a plateau that grows imperceptibly smaller with every passing winter. There are no roads here, no engines, no rush of modern progress, only the profound, dignified stillness of a place that exists entirely in a suspended state between the sky and the deep, waiting valley. The sheer isolation of the village wraps around you like a heavy, comforting blanket, promising a refuge where time itself seems to have simply stopped moving. We begin to walk across the long, concrete footbridge, and with every slow, deliberate step, the ties to the present moment gently dissolve into the surrounding fog. The bridge ascends steadily, and the only sound is the rhythmic, hypnotic brush of our footsteps, and the soft, persistent whispering of the wind as it travels up from the deep ravines below. The air here is incredibly pure, carrying the faint, metallic scent of the volcanic rock and the damp sweetness of the low-hanging clouds. As we draw closer, the immense, ancient stone walls of the village begin to loom larger, their surfaces etched with the memories of over 2,000 years, from the ancient Etruscans who first carved into this soft stone, to the Romans who walked these very paths. You feel a profound sense of smallness, a comforting realization that you are but a fleeting visitor in a deeply ancient story. And this gentle humbling allows your mind to let go of all its daily burdens, leaving them behind on the far side of the bridge, entirely forgotten in the mist. Passing through the immense, dark archway of the Porta Santa Maria, the only entrance into the village, the wind suddenly drops away, and we are immediately enveloped in the warm, sheltering hush of the ancient settlement. The ground beneath our feet shifts to smooth, worn cobblestones, grooved by centuries of slow, patient footsteps. Ivy cascades down the golden-brown facades of the medieval homes, its leaves rustling softly in the sheltered air, like a quiet lullaby sung by the stones themselves. Small, hidden courtyards reveal themselves through arched doorways, filled with the scent of blooming jasmine and the slow, heavy sleep of village cats resting in the shaded corners. Every building here leans slightly, comfortably settling into its age, with wooden doors weathered to a soft, silver gray, and window boxes overflowing with trailing geraniums that add a soft brush of color to the ancient, quiet streets. It is a place perfectly designed for slow, aimless wandering, where every turning corner invites you to pause, to breathe deeply, and to simply absorb the profound tranquility that has gathered here over centuries. As the afternoon slowly gives way to the deep, velvet shadows of evening, the true magic of Civita reveals itself, and the village seems to gently sigh, embracing its inevitable return to the earth with a quiet, unmatched grace. There is no sorrow here in the dying city, only a profound, beautiful acceptance of impermanence, a lesson whispered by the crumbling cliffs that nothing lasts forever, and that peace is found in simply existing beautifully in the present moment. As the sky turns a deep, bruised purple, and the solitary street lamps flicker to life with a soft, warm amber glow, the edges of the city blur into the night. You are safe here, entirely disconnected from the rushing world, held gently high above the valley floor in a cradle of ancient stone. Let the deep, unbroken silence of the ancient streets fill your mind, clearing away every lingering thought, every lost worry, as you drift further and further into a perfectly still and restorative sleep. As we slowly turn away from the fragile, suspended bridges of the dying city, allowing its memories to settle quietly into the mists of the valley behind us, we surrender ourselves once more to the gentle, unseen current of our journey, guiding us ever eastward and ever upward, away from the familiar, sun-drenched valleys of the Italian peninsula, and into a realm that feels entirely separated from the world we thought we knew. The air begins to change as we ascend, losing the heavy, warm embrace of the lowlands, and taking on a startling, pure crispness that awakens the senses with a soft, cool touch. The winding, solitary roads lead us through dense, shadowy forests of ancient beech and dark, fragrant pine, where the sunlight struggles to pierce the heavy canopy, creating a hypnotic, rhythmic dance of light and shadow across the windshield. The scent of damp earth and crushed juniper needles fills the space around us, grounding the mind, and slowing the beating of the heart to match the steady, unhurried climb of the earth itself. With every turn of the ascending road, the noise and the rush of the coastal cities fall further and further away, replaced by a profound, gathering silence that wraps around you like a heavy, comforting cloak, preparing your spirit for the immense, open spaces that wait patiently just beyond the tree line. Eventually, the dark, sheltering embrace of the forest begins to thin, the ancient trees giving way to scattered, windswept shrubs, until the land suddenly and breathlessly opens wide into a landscape that completely shatters every expectation you ever held of Italy. We have arrived at the edge of Campo Imperatore, a vast, high-altitude alpine meadow nestled deep within the towering peaks of the Gran Sasso Massif, in the wild, untamed region of Abruzzo. They call this place the Little Tibet of Italy, and as you look out over the endless, undulating sea of pale gold and silver grasses, you instantly understand why. There are no olive groves here, no terrace vineyards or warm, pastel-colored villas. Instead, there is only raw, majestic emptiness, a sheer, breathtaking expanse of alpine tundra that stretches outward until it dissolves into the distant, hazy blue of the horizon. The wind here does not whisper. It sweeps and glides across the vast plateau in long, unbroken breaths, causing the dry grasses to ripple and sway in mesmerizing, synchronized waves, mimicking the slow, patient movement of a golden ocean suspended high above the clouds. To stand in the center of this immense, open basin is to experience a silence so deep and so absolute that it almost hums against your skin. It is a silence woven not from emptiness, but from the gentle, organic sounds of a world entirely untouched by the urgency of modern time. If you close your eyes and listen very closely, beneath the steady, rushing breath of the mountain wind, you can hear the faint, hollow clanking of dull copper bells drifting across the plateau. For centuries, this hidden, high-altitude desert has been the domain of the shepherds, who still practice the ancient, slow art of transhumance, guiding their vast, drifting flocks of white sheep across the plains in search of the sweet, alpine grazing lands. The sheep move like slow, low-hanging clouds over the golden earth, their soft bleating and the rhythmic, unhurried footsteps of the sheepdogs blending perfectly into the vast acoustic canvas of the valley. It is a way of life that has remained utterly unchanged for thousands of years, anchored in the slow, cyclical rhythm of the seasons, and observing it brings a deep, reassuring sense of permanence to the weary mind. This immense, secret valley is a place of profound geological history, a massive basin that was slowly, patiently carved out by the grinding weight of colossal glacier during the last ice age. The earth beneath our feet is ancient and enduring, completely indifferent to the fleeting, rapid pace of human concerns. Looking around, the plateau is guarded by the jagged, pale limestone peaks of the Apennine Mountains, their sheer rock faces weathered into beautiful, stark ridges that point like silver arrows toward the expansive sky. Even in the height of summer, solitary patches of bright, white snow cling stubbornly to the darkest, most shadowed crevices of the highest summits, a quiet reminder of the deep, freezing slumber that claims this land for most of the year. Here, you feel incredibly small, yet completely safe, cradled in the massive, stony palm of the earth. The vastness of the scale gently strips away the trivial worries of the day, reducing them to nothing more than dust on the wind, leaving only a pure, undistilled sense of awe and profound inner peace. As the long, slow afternoon begins to surrender to the evening, the true, cinematic beauty of Campo Imperator is slowly revealed. The immense, empty sky becomes a canvas for the drifting clouds, casting colossal, slow-moving shadows that glide effortlessly across the golden valley floor, acting like a mesmerizing pendulum that marks the passing of the hours. The harsh, bright light of the day softens, melting into a rich, hunted glow that catches the tips of the swaying grasses and turns the entire plateau into a shimmering, illuminated sea. The towering limestone peaks of the Gran Sasso catch the final, dying rays of the sun, and for a few miraculous moments, the pale, gray rock transforms, blushing with a deep, vibrant shade of rose, then fading to a soft, bruised violet, before finally settling into the cool, slate-gray tones of the approaching night. The temperature drops steadily, carrying the sharp, invigorating chill of the high mountains, encouraging you to wrap yourself deeper into your warmth, and to fully surrender to the comforting, heavy isolation of the highlands. Now, the twilight deepens into a vast, unbroken expanse of indigo, and the little Tibet of Italy settles into a state of absolute, profound slumber, because we are so high above the heavy, luminous haze of the valleys below. The night sky here is a revelation, The stars do not simply twinkle, they blaze with a fierce, ancient clarity, emerging by the thousands until the heavens look like a vast, dark velvet cloth heavily dusted with crushed diamonds. The silence becomes so dense you could almost reach out and touch it, wrapping the world in a protective, soundless embrace. There is nothing here to demand your attention, nothing to pull you away from the simple, beautiful act of existing. The wind slowly dies down to a gentle, icy whisper, singing a final, ancient lullaby across the frozen grasses. Allow the immense, starry quiet of the mountain to fill your mind, clearing away every lingering thought, every lost echo of the day, as you drift deeply and completely into a pure, undisturbed sleep. As we slowly descend from the high, silent altitudes of the Gran Sasso, the sharp mountain air begins to mellow, warming once again as we travel toward the lush, subterranean secrets of the Italian heartland. We are moving into a landscape where the boundary between the natural world and human imagination has completely dissolved into the deep, emerald valleys of northern Lazio. Here, the forests grow thick and ancient, dominated by gnarled chestnut trees and heavy, moss-covered oaks that seem to lean toward one another, whispering secrets in a language of rustling leaves. The scent of damp ferns, wet stone, and crushed peppermint follows us as we follow a narrow, winding path that leads deep into the shadows of a hidden ravine. There is a heavy, prehistoric stillness here, a feeling that the modern world has been entirely swallowed by the verdant, creeping vines, and that we are entering a sacred space where the ordinary rules of reality no longer apply. Your breath becomes slow and rhythmic, synchronized with a gentle, steady drip of water falling from the overhanging rocks. As you prepare to witness a garden born from the depths of a broken heart, we have arrived at the threshold of the Sacro Bosco, the sacred grove, often whispered of as the Park of the Monsters in Bomazzo. Built in the middle of the 16th century, this is not a garden of manicured hedges or delicate fountains, but a surreal, hallucinatory dreamscape carved directly from the massive, gray volcanic boulders that once lay scattered across the valley floor. As we step into the dappled light of the clearing, the first of the giants emerges, a colossal, weathered stone head, its mouth wide open in a silent, eternal scream. It is a gateway, a literal passage into the underworld, and as the cool, damp air from within the stone throat brushes against your skin, you feel a profound sense of wonder, a deep, meditative curiosity that replaces all of your lingering thoughts. The moss has claimed the stone, turning the harsh, gray volcanic tuff into soft, velvet green sculptures, allowing the art to return slowly and gracefully back into the embrace of the earth. Walking further into the shaded depths, we find a world of impossible shapes and leaning architectures. A small, stone house tilted at a precarious angle, designed to disorient the senses and quiet the rational mind, sits quietly among the ferns, reminding us that sometimes the most beautiful way to find ourselves is to first become completely lost. Enormous stone elephants, massive war turtles, and reclining goddesses emerge from the undergrowth, their eyes filled with a centuries-old, silent wisdom. There is no rush here, no dictated path to follow, only the slow, intuitive movement from one stone dream to the next. The sound of a nearby stream, hidden beneath the dense foliage, provides a constant, soothing backdrop to our journey, a liquid, silver thread of sound that washes away the remaining tension from your body, leaving you feeling light, unburdened, and entirely present in this bizarre, beautiful sanctuary of the soul. The air in the grove is remarkably still, held captive by the high, surrounding stone walls of the ravine, and it carries the cool, mineral fragrance of the earth and the deep, green scent of the forest floor. As we sit beside a massive, stone basin guarded by a family of carved dolphins, you can feel the heavy, grounding energy of the volcanic rock beneath you. This garden was created as a solace for the spirit, a place where grief and wonder could coexist in the quiet shadows. And that ancient intention still lingers in the atmosphere today. It is a place that invites you to lay down your defenses, to surrender your need for logic and order, and to simply drift among the stone giants like a leaf on a slow, winding river. The massive, silent presence of the sculptures provides a sense of profound protection, a feeling of being watched over by ancient, stony guardians who have seen the centuries pass like falling leaves. As the afternoon sunlight begins to fade, filtering through the thick canopy in long, hazy shafts of gold, the Park of the Monsters takes on a truly ethereal quality. The shadows lengthen, creeping slowly across the faces of the stone creatures, giving them a soft, shifting life of their own. The edges of the carvings blur into the deep, violet shadows of the forest, and the entire grove feels as though it is gently breathing, inhaling the coolness of the approaching evening. The birdsong grows quiet, replaced by the soft, rhythmic creaking of the ancient trees and the distant, lonely hoot of an owl echoing through the ravine. You are perfectly safe here, sheltered within this secret, stone-carved dream, where the monsters are not to be feared, but are simply the heavy, silent companions of your own deep, internal journey. Now, the twilight fully descends, and the Sacro Bosco is claimed by the velvet darkness. The massive stone shapes become part of the night itself, grounding the earth with their immense, immovable weight. There is a profound, heavy peace that settles over the ravine, a silence that feels like a physical embrace. Your eyes grow heavy, drawn toward the deep, dark green of your inner landscape, following the slow, steady pulse of the ancient stones. Every worry, every fragment of the day, dissolves into the cool, damp earth of the grove, leaving your mind as clear and still as the surface of a hidden forest pool. Allow the weight of the stone giants to anchor you in the present moment, as you drift further and further into a deep, restorative, and magical slumber. As we withdraw from the moss-covered embrace of the Garden of Monsters, allowing its stone giants to recede into the quiet twilight, we surrender once more to the gentle, hypnotic pull of our journey, guiding us southward into the warm, volatile heart of Campania. The air grows distinctly warmer, carrying the sweet fragrance of blossoming lemon groves and the ancient, metallic scent of dark, volcanic earth. We are moving away from the crowded coastal towns, traveling inland toward a landscape where the boundary between the natural world and the human spirit has completely dissolved into the emerald shadow of Mount Vesuvius. The roads become narrower, winding through a soft, dreamlike palette of warm terracotta, dusty greens, and the velvety shadows of distant pine forests. There is a profound sense of anticipation resting in the warm afternoon stillness, your breath becoming slow and rhythmic, synchronized with the steady pulse of this ancient, sleeping land. Eventually, the familiar landscape transforms, revealing a realm where water is sculpted into a masterpiece of liquid light. We arrive at the threshold of the royal palace of Caserta, seeking the profound, restorative silence deep within its immense gardens, specifically, the enchanting secret world of the English garden. A winding path, barely a whisper of gravel beneath your feet, leads us into the comforting, emerald shade of an ancient, towering forest. The sound of the surrounding world falls away, replaced by a constant, soothing symphony of water, washing away the remaining tension from your body, leaving you entirely present in this lush sanctuary. Walking deeper into the cool, shaded depths, we find a world where architecture has surrendered to the earth. Hidden among the ferns and heavy, moss-covered stones, sits the breathtaking Bath of Venus, a small classical temple quietly dissolving into the landscape. Cascades of water tumble softly down dark volcanic rock faces, feeding a still, emerald pool reflecting the surrounding greenery with shimmering clarity. Ferns and wild ivy cascade down stone pillars, their leaves rustling softly in the cool, humid air, like a lullaby sung by the stones themselves. There is no rush here, only slow, intuitive movement from one hidden glade to the next, guided by your steady breathing. This immense secret valley is a place of profound ecological diversity, a vibrant living tapestry indifferent to the rapid pace of human concerns. Exotic trees from distant lands stand shoulder to shoulder with native Italian oaks and Mediterranean palms, creating a chaotic harmony that feels deeply curated. The water here is a life-giving force directed with invisible artistry. It flows over artificial rocks, gathers in quiet reflective ponds, and disappears into hidden grottos, to emerge again as a soft trickling stream. The scent of damp earth, wet stone, and crushed water mint fills the space, grounding the mind. Here you feel incredibly small, yet completely safe, cradled in the lush palm of the earth. As the long, slow afternoon surrenders to the evening, the true cinematic beauty of the garden is slowly revealed. Shadows lengthen, creeping across the faces of stone statues, giving them a shifting life of their own. The intense green softens, melting into a rich hunted glow that turns the valley into an illuminated sea. A gentle cool mist rises from hidden pools, turning the entire landscape into a dream of forgotten grace. The cascades seem to slow their pace, their sound deepening into a resonant hum marking the passing hours. The birdsong grows quiet, replaced by the soft creaking of ancient trees and the distant call of a night bird. Now the twilight fully descends, and the Giardino Inglese is claimed by velvet darkness. Massive stone shapes become part of the night, grounding the earth with their immovable weight. A profound, heavy peace settles over the valley, a silence feeling like a physical embrace. Your eyes grow heavy, drawn toward the deep dark green of your inner landscape, following the steady pulse of ancient stones and the constant liquid thread of sound. Every fragment of the day dissolves into the cool, damp earth of the grove, leaving your mind as clear and still as the hidden Venus pool. Allow the weight of the ancient trees to anchor you in the present moment, as you drift further into a deep, restorative slumber. As we leave behind the lush green shadows of the southern gardens, we allow the quiet current of our journey to carry us gently northward, into the deep rolling heart of Tuscany. We intentionally drift far away from the sunlit vineyards and bustling squares. Instead, we follow a solitary winding road that dips into the hidden mist-shrouded embrace of the Val di Immersive, an isolated valley that has intentionally hidden itself from the modern world. The air noticeably cools, carrying the herbal fragrance of wild lavender and the deep scent of damp soil breathing under the approaching twilight. With every slow curve of the empty road, the heavy burdens of the day evaporate, leaving your mind incredibly light. You feel the profound rural silence settling, woven from rustling oak leaves and the distant hum of hidden crickets. We travel toward a sanctuary completed by the patient touch of the natural world. Slowly, out of the gathering shadows, a ghostly silhouette begins to rise from the center of an empty, silent field. We arrive at the breathtaking Abbey of San Galgano, a colossal Gothic masterpiece standing entirely alone in the sweeping landscape. As we step out onto the yielding earth of the meadow, the absolute stillness surrounding these ancient walls washes over you. The ground is a carpet of wet grass that muffles our footsteps, turning our approach into a deeply reverent, weightless glide. The air holds the faint metallic tang of ancient travertine stone and the sweet decaying perfume of fallen leaves gathering at the base of the massive pillars. Looking up at the towering facade, the ancient stone glows with a pale silvery light, reflecting the dying embers of the evening sun. It is a place that instantly commands your breathing to slow down, matching the immovable permanence of the architecture, and as you trace the soaring lines of the Gothic windows, a profound peace takes root within your chest. We slowly walk through the immense empty threshold of the grand entrance, and as we cross into the heart of the abbey, The magnificent secret of San Galgano is finally revealed. There is no heavy ceiling pressing down upon us, no intricate frescoes shielding us from the elements. Instead, the soaring columns reach upward and simply end, framing a vast uninterrupted canopy of the deepening evening sky. The roof of this colossal sanctuary collapsed centuries ago, transforming the abbey into something infinitely more sacred. The monks who walked these very aisles sought a direct connection to the divine, and now, with a heavy stone gone, the barrier between the soul and the universe is erased. The floor beneath our feet is not cold stone, but the living earth itself, covered in a gentle layer of wild grass and delicate clovers. It is as if the earth has lovingly risen up to embrace the architecture, washing away any remaining tension. Standing in the center of the roofless nave, the acoustics play a mesmerizing trick on the senses. The empty windows and massive stone arches capture the slow evening wind, turning the structure into a silent instrument. You can hear the cool breeze sighing softly through the frames, mimicking the rhythmic breathing of a sleeping giant. Just a quiet walk up the neighboring hill lies the ancient hermitage of Montesipi, where legends say a medieval knight named Galgano plunged his iron sword entirely into the solid bedrock, renouncing violence for a lifetime of absolute peace. That rusted sword still rests within the stone today, a quiet symbol of putting down heavy burdens. And here, standing in the empty shell of the abbey built in his honor, you are invited to do exactly the same, to plunge the exhausting thoughts of your day into the soft earth, and simply let them go, surrendering completely to the deep tranquility that saturates every grain of stone. The breathtaking scale of the abbey gently humbles the mind, placing fleeting worries into a vast geological perspective that makes them seem wonderfully small. These towering walls of pale travertine and red brick were assembled stone by stone over many decades, by men whose names are lost to the slow river of time. Yet their desire to build something of lasting beauty remains preserved in the elegant curves of the arches. As daylight completely fades from the Tuscan landscape, the pale stone begins to absorb the cool indigo of the twilight, turning the abbey into a shadowy forest of stone. The rigid symmetry of the architecture contrasts beautifully with the organic shapes of clouds drifting slowly overhead. It is a harmonious marriage between human intention and the vast power of nature. You stand inside a monument that has survived empires, yet it asks nothing of you. It simply offers its sheltering walls as a safe harbor, a place where you can rest quietly. Now, the night fully claims the Italian sky, turning it into a vast seamless dome of the deepest velvety black. And because we stand securely within a roofless cathedral, the spectacle above us is framed in absolute perfection. Millions of shimmering stars begin to pierce the heavy darkness, appearing like a delicate dusting of crushed silver scattered generously across the heavens. They shine with a steady ancient light, perfectly framed by the pointed arches of the Gothic windows. The silence becomes so deep and profound that you almost hear the slow turning of the earth itself. The cool night air wraps around you like a comforting blanket, gently encouraging your eyes to slowly close. Your breath falls into a perfect rhythm with a steady wind moving softly through the ancient stones. There is nothing left to carry, nothing left to solve. You are perfectly held in the quiet space between the sleeping earth and brilliant stars. Allow the deep peace of San Galgano to fill your mind completely, clearing away every echo of the waking world. As you drift further down into a deeply restorative sleep, as we gently leave the roofless stone embrace of the Tuscan Abbey, allowing its quiet shadows to fade into memory, we surrender one final time to the unseen current of our journey, pulling us far away from the familiar Mediterranean warmth and guiding us steadily northward to the very edge of the sky. We are traveling into the high alpine borderlands of South Tyrol, a region where the traditional image of Italy completely dissolves into a landscape of towering, snow-draped peaks and dense dark pine forests. The air undergoes a profound transformation, shedding the heavy floral warmth of the south and taking on a breathtaking crystalline purity. It carries the sharp, invigorating scent of crushed juniper berries and ancient glacial ice. With every slow, rhythmic climb of the winding mountain road, the noise of the world is stripped away, leaving your mind feeling incredibly clear. You can feel a profound, freezing silence settling over the landscape, a silence woven from the slow shifting of glacier and the distant whisper of alpine wind. We are traveling toward a place where history sleeps beneath a heavy liquid blanket. Slowly, the dense curtain of the alpine forest parts, revealing a vast, breathless expanse of deep glassy water nestled between the immense slopes of the mountains. We have arrived at the shores of Lake Regia, a place where the scenery feels beautifully and peacefully surreal. As we step out onto the quiet, rocky shoreline, the absolute stillness of the high altitude washes over you. The lake is a colossal mirror, perfectly reflecting the towering white-capped peaks and the soft bruised colors of the approaching evening. But your eyes are immediately drawn to the center of the water, where a solitary ancient bell tower rises silently from the depths. It is an impossible dreamlike vision, a 14th century Romanesque spire standing alone, surrounded by nothing but the cold, dark ripples of the alpine lake. It instantly commands your breathing to slow down, matching the immovable permanence of the flooded valley, and as you trace the elegant lines of the solitary tower, a profound peace takes root within your chest. We slowly walk along the quiet edge of the water, and the melancholy secret of this place is gently revealed. Beneath the smooth, unbroken surface of the lake lies the entirely sunken village of Curin. Decades ago, the waters of the valley were allowed to rise, slowly and peacefully covering the ancient streets, the stone houses, and the quiet squares, turning the village into an eternal underwater sanctuary. The water does not feel like a destructive force here, but rather a heavy protective blanket that has preserved the memories of the past in perfect suspended animation. The massive stone bell tower was the only structure tall enough to survive the flood, remaining as a quiet guardian watching over the sleeping town below. Looking out over the water, you can almost feel the presence of the submerged streets, washing away all urgency, and leaving behind only a pure distilled essence of calm. Standing on the serene shoreline, the acoustics of the alpine basin play a mesmerizing trick on the senses. The wind sweeps down from the high glacier, gliding across the vast surface of the lake and humming softly as it passes through the open archways of the submerged bell tower. According to the whispered legends of the valley, on the quietest nights of the winter, you can still hear the phantom ringing of the bells echoing from beneath the freezing water, even though the iron bells were removed many years ago. It is a sound made entirely of memory and wind, a gentle rhythmic reminder that it is safe to let go of the past. And here, standing at the edge of the sunken village, you are invited to do exactly the same, to release the exhausting thoughts of your day into the deep freezing water, and simply let them sink away, surrendering completely to the deep tranquility that saturates this hidden alpine lake. The breathtaking scale of the surrounding Alps gently humbles the mind, placing all of our fleeting worries into a vast geological perspective that makes them seem wonderfully insignificant. These towering walls of dark rock and eternal snow have watched over the valley for millions of years, entirely indifferent to the slow river of human time. Yet their immense silent presence provides a profound sense of safety and isolation. As daylight completely fades from the northern landscape, the pale snow of the peaks begins to absorb the cool indigo of the twilight, turning the mountains into shadowy guardians of the night. The rigid, lonely architecture of the tower contrasts beautifully with the organic shapes of clouds drifting slowly overhead. It is a harmonious marriage between human memory and the vast power of nature. You stand before a monument to letting go, and in this exact moment, it asks nothing of you. It simply offers its quiet, rippling waters as a safe harbor, a place where you can rest quietly. Now, the night fully claims the alpine sky, turning it into a vast, seamless dome of the deepest velvety black. And because we stand in the isolated silence of the high mountains, the spectacle above us is framed in absolute perfection. Millions of shimmering stars begin to pierce the heavy darkness, appearing like a delicate dusting of crushed silver scattered generously across the heavens. They shine with a steady ancient light, perfectly reflecting upon the smooth glassy surface of the lake, creating a universe above and a universe below. The silence becomes so deep and profound that you almost hear the slow turning of the earth itself. The cool night air wraps around you like a comforting blanket, gently encouraging your eyes to slowly close. Your breath falls into a perfect rhythm with the soft, steady lapping of the water against the stones. There is nothing left to carry, nothing left to solve. You are perfectly held in the quiet space between the sleeping water and brilliant stars. Allow the deep peace of Lake Regia to fill your mind completely, clearing away every echo of the waking world. As you drift further down into a deeply restorative sleep,